Hello everyone, this is Nate, also known as Big MC Nate, back again with another YouTube video, and today we are in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. I don't actually know where we're at, but we're in North Carolina. I do know that. And we have got my uncle on the bright red Road King that you hear idling, and his girlfriend who's here on this, I believe it's a V-Star 1300. But I'm, of course, on my own Yamaha, the 1500. So we are currently bound for the Outer Banks. We are heading to my eldest uncle's house for Thanksgiving. So decided I was going to bring you all along for the ride. This thing has so much roll-on power, it's absolutely stupid. So we are getting back onto Route 64 eastbound. So we are south of Elizabeth City by a considerable amount on this route, so hopefully we should not see a whole lot of traffic. And the first thing you're going to note is if you can read my speedometer, you're going to think I'm speeding, but in fact, as I've come to learn, the speedometer on this bike is almost always 5 miles an hour too fast. So if I'm doing 65 indicated, I'm doing 60 actual. I kind of started to question it when I was getting past, like I was standing still in highway traffic. I'm like, that's weird. I'm doing what it says is 70, and people are just walking by me like I'm standing still. So when I got the phone mounted up here one day, I launched up Waze, and sure enough, Waze is like, nope, you're actually doing this. So that was a fun discovery. So today I wanted to take some time and talk about what led me to the FJR, because this is a significant departure from what the Road King was. The Road King being a big twin cruiser, and this being an inline-4 sport touring bike. That's no less or no small change. Truck distracted me, but yeah, that's no small change. Massive changes to riding style, massive changes to foot position, massive changes to comfort and how you can get comfort, or comfortable rather. And yeah, so all of these will be addressed in today's video, just as soon as my ear stops itching. Oh my god. Alright, so what led me down the route of the FJR 1300? So I've been watching videos from a whole bunch of different motorcycle YouTubers. I've seen Life of Birch, Quasi Motard, Motard Squid, Ride of a Lifetime, Slight, the list goes on and on. I don't watch the big ones like Yammy Noob and Fortnite. Just they can go do their own thing. I like the smaller YouTube accounts better because you can actually interact with your community, but that's a different topic of discussion for a different day. So I got to looking passively at a replacement for the Harley because I knew this was either going to be close to the Harleys last year, even after I made a channel, Tales from the Road King. I was getting frustrated with it. And I guess I should have known a bit more about it when I committed to it and got it. And understanding kind of what the community around Harleys and the image around Harleys was. So, reason number one for getting rid of the Harley was probably the image, the community. If you're not riding a Harley, you're not riding a real bike. I heard that more often than not at Harley dealerships. I heard that at bike meets, bikes and coffee, things like that. And quite frankly, I just grew sick of it. group rides with Harley riders. Whenever I'm riding, I always wave. I wave at two-wheelers. I wave at three-wheelers. I wave, I don't care if it's a Can-Am. I don't care if it's a Honda trike. I don't care if it's a Kawasaki. It doesn't matter what it is. I always wave because you're a part of the biker community, not just a part of a subset of the community, like the Harley owners. So that's reason number one. I got tired of the community. I got tired of the image around it. Reason number two, just too damn hot. And what do I mean by that? It was 62 degrees, and I got stuck behind a roadwork plus a car accident. Somehow the car had managed its way into the roadwork. I don't know how it did it. And then it caused an accident. And it was just as the days were starting to get shorter. So it was probably No, this would have been later. This was a while back. Probably closer to 7 o'clock, 7:30, somewhere in there. And I get stuck in this accident, and I'm not even moving. I'm 0 miles an hour, standing still, done. And the Harleys just rumble, 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 idling underneath me, rumble, rumble, rumble. And the Harley had this thing. When it got really hot, smell metal. And I don't know how else to word it, but you could smell the motor whenever it got hot. And my general rule of thumb with that bike was when you could smell that smell, you were approaching overheating and overheat territory. Little background to Harley is most Harleys in the early 2000s, the early twin cams, when they switched away from what was that motor? From the Evolution, the Evos. And they moved to the twin cam. The twin cams, to start, were air-cooled. So the cylinder jugs, I think they're called, they had the large fins in them to allow for more air to move around the cylinders and cool them off. And that only works if you're moving. If you're standing still, and you're getting that reflecting heat up off the ground, back at your bike, back at you, it's plumb miserable. Even when I'd be riding on what was a warm day, low speeds, I was just baking with that bike. And there's things you can do to counteract that. Those, you could provision them with oil coolers, but you have to do a lot of work to make that happen. There are companies that I believe sell fans that go next to the cylinders, and you can blow air across the tops of the cylinders like the wind normally would, or just ride faster. But it overheated on me no less than twice. And while they can get toasty and be fine, it's that repeatedness I don't like, because eventually how long until you can't either get pulled over and stopped and warp something, or just plain and simple, how long until you warp something. And that was always present in the back of my mind. So we have the first reason being the image and the brand and the attitude. We've got the second reason being the heat. It's just that level of I want it to be its own. And I guess I could add to number two, just around general discomfort. The damn thing shook, and it does. A Harley, it shakes. No, that twin cam was especially bad. The front motor mount needed changed. Then the front motor mount got changed, and oh my God, waiting for that motor mount to break in, it was like, it was absolutely abysmal. So that's just, that's number two. And then number three, I'm kind of torn between either having to pay the Harley tax all the time, which I guess coincides with maintenance, but we have maintenance / Harley tax, and they do coincide. Maintenance is always more expensive on a Harley, it seems. Now, a couple times, depending on what the services were, like the Harley dealership I did business with, great dealership, I'd go back and do business with them in a minute. They were great to deal with, very informative, texted me updates, and almost always, whenever they said we'd have an answer to you about A, B, C, or X, Y, and Z in 2 to 4 hours, it was almost always within the first hour. But they still set the precedent of 2 to 4 just in case, and I respect that. But they constantly over-promised and over-delivered. But one thing you can't beat, one thing you just can't get around is that Harley tax. Paying over $300 for an oil change, the labor is not the worst part, but it's the fact that you've got to get no less than 3 separate fluids in a Road King. Most Harleys have a primary fluid, which is your clutch, a transmission fluid, your transmission, and your engine oil on top of it all. Now, you can use the 20W50 engine oil in all of those systems, but I prefer running my AMSOIL full synthetic, primary fluid, transmission fluid, and engine oil. I did notice it was easier to find neutral and it often produced smoother shifts, so there was benefit to run it. That, and it did keep the temperatures lower. And I would usually provide my own oil too. That helped. Because it was the maintenance on that bike wasn't difficult per se, but that was a lot of bike to try to get up on a stand or to get on a front and rear tire stand. So it was almost often easier just to have the dealership do it. Most of the maintenances I did on it are the things I could do top down when I had to take the gas tank off for various things, versus going in from the side or going in from the bottom for like oil changes, primary fluid changes, things like that. I know how to do it. They're not hard to do, but they're just a pain in the butt. So to fill the gearbox, you have to have it on the side stand. To fill the engine oil, you have to have it on the side stand. But to fill the primary, when you take the derby cover off of the bike, you have to have the bike either on a center stand, which I don't think Harley does, OEM, or you have to have it vertical somehow on a bike stand, aftermarket center stand, whatever. And that was just, I didn't feel comfortable slinging 800 pounds around by myself. Actually, it was 850 or something like that. I didn't feel comfortable slinging that weight around myself. So that was just one of the reasons. So 3, I'd say, pretty solid reasons. And it wasn't anything wrong with the bike itself. I think it's just the brand that really did it. I think some of the short-sightedness of the designs that Harley chose. But again, this is O2. Harley has since learned from that. They have the Milwaukee 8, which is a much smoother drivetrain than the old twin cams. So the FJR fixes the smoothness. It's an inline 4. It's incredibly smooth. There you go, Maria. It's incredibly smooth. It's not buzzy until you get it way up in the rev band. Like even here, doing 65 miles an hour, just shy of 4,000 RPM, it handles a treat. The handlebars aren't buzzy. I do wish the handlebars were higher up, so I could have more vertical. I could be a bit more vertical and not so leaned over. And what's I'm looking for? And set back just a little bit, so I don't have to lean so far. But that's easy to fix with bar risers, which are significantly cheaper for this. And let's go back to maintenance. There's no belt. There's no drive belt. There's no chain. This is a shaft-driven bike with the cutest little differential in the rear tire, and that uses less than quart of Yamalube fluid for that, and I think it takes just shy over 4 quarts of engine oil, which this shares the engine oil with the clutch and gearbox like most Japanese bikes do. So the maintenance on this is dumb simple. Just pop it up on the center stand, which it came with, pull the oil filter off, pull the oil drain bolt, let it drain out, then put 4 quarts of fresh fluid in. Look through the sight glass on the side, make sure it's between the full and empty marks, and call it good. Much simpler, much easier. So as long as the splines are kept greased in the drive shaft, as long as the rear end fluid or the differential fluids kept changed and all the other fluids are kept changed, these are supposed to be pretty solid bikes. 120, 130,000 miles out of them is not uncommon. But this has been my ramble for today. Rambled for about 26 minutes in total, according to the Cardo audio recorder, but how long that actually comes down to be edited, who knows. My apologies for taking a month to upload stuff. It's been busy. I just haven't had the time to ride. I've tried to make it, and this bike threw me through a couple of headaches. I'll tell that story when I'm heading back north from the Outer Banks. So until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.